Okay, um, time for soapbox. I have my Coke, I have my Mars bar, and I'll probably eat them and drink them while I'm talking. The Battletech community needs a little bit of a chat. We have a problem. The problem is, and this has actually been iterated on various other media for various different things, given the last 10 years we've had. And I'm not just talking about Battletech either. I'm talking about generally. We've forgotten the ability to be able to, what's the best phrase for it? Have an opinion on something and not hate a person for having a different opinion. Got to remember here, people, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, or maybe more depending on point of view. Anyway, getting to my point. Blaine Lee Pardoe. Simple fact, I'm not a fan of his. As soon as he came out as a Trump supporter, I'm like, yeah, I am not supporting him in any way, shape, or form I can. At the same time, I'm not going to limit my BattleTech exposure because of that. Um, I still bought Hour of the Wolf, and to be fair, after I read it, I wanted to return it because it was crap. Um, but that doesn't really mean that much. What I've been seeing on the Battletech groups pretty much across the board, everyone's been going, oh, I hate you because you're left. Oh, I hate you because you're right. There has been some people going, okay, yeah, we're all good. You can have that opinion. That's fine. I don't care. But here's the facts. And that's the thing we've forgotten at the moment. Facts speak softer than lies and vitriol. The fact of the matter is that Pardoe is a pretty heavy right wing sideways conservative. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Not really. It becomes a problem when they are forcing it down your throat. Now, looking at his blog posts across various different conservative media, and I've read them, just like any person with half a brain, they can make valid points, and just because they're from one side of the spectrum versus another doesn't mean they're outright wrong. And this is the actual general problem with politics across the board at the moment. It's either my way or the highway. You need to be able to accept that there are differing points of view. Where you have a problem is when that point of view becomes hate filled. Now, this divide between the left and right, which I would argue the left isn't really left anyway. It's more of a centrist these days, even slightly right, depending on what country you live in. At the moment, in regards to Battletech, the Battletech community is generally a bunch of older guys, white. That's fine. I'm not begrudging that. We're seeing a great influx of new players. Um, and that's not to say there are players from different ethnicities, religions, creeds, whatever. And you know, I don't care if I play someone who's black, white, green, Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, atheist, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just as an interesting part of the fabric of the person. When people start going on about hate and talking about, things that like, come on, then like that are like almost discriminatory or are discriminatory. That's where you have to draw the line. Um, hold up. I should have had this ready before. Um, Town hall. Um, okay. Um, where is it? Okay. So this is a good one. Um, he posted an article about back in the start of the year, 23rd of Jan, um, talking about diversity and inclusiveness. Now, he goes on about a rant in regards to, it's implementing quotas in a workplace. Um, and now they're, trying to force everyone to believe that everyone has a bias. Newsflash, everyone fucking has a bias. Now, that's not a bad thing. Most people are intrinsically aware of the biases they may have or they do have. Now, most cases, people are most able to control that and go, okay, all right, I know having this bias is actually a bit discriminatory. I can put that aside. The problem is the people who refuse to admit that for whatever reason they may have a bias. And some of these D&I training sessions aren't necessarily showing you about biases that you have, or they're not trying to force you into saying you have one or multiple, because they're trying to remove the bias out of you by some nefarious means. It's more about just understanding where your biases are. If you understand where your biases are, you'll be a better human being. Everyone has bias in one way, shape, or form or another. Now, this quota thing, I've spoken to a few HR people in my time, um, and this quota BS, it's not really true. Companies still hire the right person for the right job, generally speaking. When it comes to inclusion and diversity, I will call it out here. My company I work for, it's a major telco. They are very, very inclusive, and there is all walks of life up and down the totem pole. The thing is, though, and real crux of this is you mostly see it with regards to women and people of color. They tend to be at the lower rungs or not helped up the ladder because of that lack of experience, not knowing the right contacts, and so forth. We're seeing more people, like more women, more people of color, getting into higher role positions. And they're offering new ways of thinking about things and new processes and new ways and new ideas. And that's a good thing. Sometimes the ideas are crap, but that can be had from anyone, whether it's an old white guy or a, um, I don't know, Asian person. It doesn't matter. It's that the ideas are out there. They can be tried, tested, and there's always something good to come out of it. when they come out these quotas, it's like, oh yeah, no, it's not. There's not a push on quoting, and that's where Blaine Leader Peter, sorry, Blaine Lee Pardo sort of goes off the rails. He's saying that it's all about, putting people because they need quotas and stuff. It's not. More often not, they're putting in people in a place where they can grow, develop, get experience, so they can help get so they can be moved up. Maybe because they haven't had as many opportunities as a white guy. Now, I did not come from a relatively privileged background. I was still came from a housing commission um, family. Um, Me and my wife have worked really hard, to buy a house and now buy another block of land. A person's birth should not determine where what they are able to achieve. Now, the right particularly really want to preserve education as a tool for the rich. That's the truth. Now, that's the far right. Most conservative people that I know, they want everyone to be educated because they know the more people are educated, the better life becomes for everybody. Now, back to Pardo for a second. Well, this is actually the main reason for this discussion. You look through like his blog posts, they're not inherently bigotry. But the thing is, there is the underlying current of um, hate and dissatisfaction across the board. Now, and this is the crux of the conversation. Pardo's side of the story in regards to Battletech has been that he was cancelled. Sorry. The truth of the matter is, unless CGL basically comes out and clearly specifies what went on, why made those decisions, we won't know the whole story. Pardo is able to sprout the victim game and play that like a fiddle. Now, it's rather ironic because he's bringing out a line of new miniatures game, also a bunch of new books which are very conservative leaning. Blue Dawn, I've read some of it and it's utter trash, but you may enjoy it. But it's pretense. This is basically a complete utter nut job right wing believer wet dream of uh, progressives taking over a country and then um, basically becoming a new fascist state. Which is funny because the left really isn't that fascist. It's actually for democracy more than anything else. Um, Now, looking at his things, I mean, like the comment here is last summer I wrote a conservative political thriller, Blue Dawn. Firstly, I wouldn't necessarily call it a thriller. I'd call it like a really bad horror story. Yeah, sorry, Blaine, but yeah, your writing has dropped off really badly in the past 20 years. Um, and that's my opinion. Um, Looking at this, like, he's really punching the whole right wing ideologies here. And if you actually look at the sites he's been posting on, like some of the articles that are there are just absolutely abhorrent for most sensible thinking people. And I'm not just saying left wing people here. I'm fairly a left wing person. I'm conservative in some views, but when it comes to like women's rights, um, gay, trans, whatever rights, I'm for that. Anything that gives people rights to do what they want with whoever they want and however they want is perfectly fine by me. I've got no right in telling a gay couple that no, they're not allowed to do that, whatever they want. You know, they can't fuck, they can't love each other. That's not my purview. I know plenty of gay people who are I consider friends, and they're lovely, amazing people. At the same time, I know lots of heterosexual people, same deal. I also know a few heterosexual people who are absolutely bigots, and I actually know some gay people who are also very bigoted as well. But the gay people tend to be a lot less than heteros. Simple. But you get every way, shape, and form. I'm sort of digressing here, though. Now, it's pretty clear that Pardo has been pushing the agenda for quite some now, particularly his more extreme conservative views. Um, and you can see that on the places he's been posting. They're conservative to extreme conservative. I wouldn't go so far as being like um, uh, Jan 6 supportive, um, but at the same time, they're close. Now, there was an article, just, where is it? Jan 6. Um, there was an article about Blaine Lee Pardo um, being an apologist about the Jan 6 riots. And I'm sorry, but there is no way, shape, or form you can not be anything but anti that, because that is the definition of anti-democracy. Period. And don't get me started on the Second Amendment in America because it's a load of shit, and people are gonna hate me for saying that. I'm an Aussie. I'm proud of the fact that we've got good gun control. I don't care if you can own a gun. I care that some people are not mentally fit enough to hold a gun. That's the fact of it. More people die to suicide by gun, and I believe in America, and I'm pretty sure the numbers back me up on this, than the mass killings that have happened for the past 20 plus odd years in America. That alone should be alarming because, I mean, according to one of the conservative sites I was reading, they consider unborn babies unborn Republican voters. What the fuck? Seriously. And this is sort of a bad digression down the path of, abortion rights and all that. Roe vs. Wade being cancelled, bad. Pure and simple. Looking at Pardo's MO here, it's looking more and more like that he's basically pandering to these more conservative, more right wing nut jobs to get book sales. Now, there is pretty heavy evidence in the last few BattleTech novels about some of the things that have been going on over the last few years in contemporary history, like toppling of monuments and statues in America of you know people who were what, not exactly nice people. And you know what, I don't necessarily agree with knocking down history. And a lot of people who will tell you they don't want to obfuscate or hide the bad. They just want a clear and honest. My camera is going in and out here. This is going to be annoying. Um, Account of what happened. There's an old adage that history is written by the victor, and that's the truth. These days, it's more about who has more political clout. Anyway, I've been digressing a lot. Um, I've read way too much right-wing crap at the last couple of weeks, building up to this video. Ever since the Pardoe um, bomb was dropped, um, you can see there. I've got a pile of Battletech boxes, and I've got them littered all over my decks. I've got a desk. I've got Battletech minis across the board. I've got every bits and pieces. I love my Battletech. I've loved it since I was introduced to it back when I was a teenager. Pardon me. Um, and it makes me sad because we've seen this. I won't say perversion, but I'll see it's Pardo change over the last 20 years in his writing. You can see the right wing and more conservative views creeping in. Now he says that he's able to separate, his writing from his views. And this actually goes back to my earlier point about biases. Your biases will come out once in a while, whether you realize it or not. Now, most of us, our biases are very minor. They won't be problematic if they come out or whatever to slip up. You apologize. You understand. You learn. You realize, okay, look, I made this mistake. How can I make myself better? And that's what most people want. But looking at the writing, I mean, looking of last a few BattleTech books that Pardo has written, there is a lot of Civil War references, which for some is still a very big sore point, um, even though it was several hundred years ago now. There's a lot of references to contemporary history, and as I mentioned, in regards to about toppling of statues of Confederate and you know just generally not nice people. Um, and I believe, and I've had this discussion with people. I'm not a big fan of toppling of statues. Um, whether historically or not, they were bad people. But I also agree with the point that having them and worshiping those people as good people is not necessarily the right thing either. And this is where you need to have a balanced view of history. Case in point, Adolf Hitler wasn't initially a bad person. He formed his views and his hatred of Jews and caused arguably one of the greatest atrocities of the 20th century, if not the greatest. But he still had good ideas in some regards. He turned Germany, post-war World War One Germany, from a clusterfuck into a economic powerhouse. But it still doesn't mean people should worship Adolf Hitler. He was an evil, evil man, no question. But even the most evil person can have a good idea which will have a positive impact on the majority of people sometimes. That's just the fact of life. And I guess where I'm going over this is that while there is two lines of thought in regards to Plain Lady Pardoe, well, actually, there's multiple, more than two. The reality of it is we need to temper our anger for those people who are more progressive and go, okay, you're welcome to those views. That's fine. Now, let's talk about something else in regards to this whole story. Pardo, as we know, he's playing the victim. You know, he's saying, "Oh, he was cancelled. Oh, it's all left-wing woke politics." It doesn't feel like it. Like they've just released another of his novels not too long ago, set in the Dark Age. Yet he's saying he was cancelled for a while now. That's fine. And I would argue it is not just for his right-wing conservative views. The evidence does not point at that. At the same time, the evidence doesn't point at his upcoming miniature Kickstarter as being a sore point either. So the question, I guess, is where and why has Catalyst decided to sever its relation with one of its most long-standing authors? Um, Even Stackpole hasn't stuck with the franchise for the entirety. Um, and let's not talk about Lauren L. Coleman here for a second because that's a pretty big, hairy rabbit hole we can go down. But Stackpole, you know, he's stuck by the franchise. He's done books every so often. He did the launch books, I think it was, for Dark Age when it was under WizKids. But I may be wrong there. So if anyone does know, please correct. But at the same time, he's come back and looks like he's going to be doing some new books, which is awesome. Um, Stackpole's always been a bit of a munchy kind of guy, and you know what? I've still got a big fan of Victor Ian Stein de Avian, but there's just something that doesn't sit right with me here. CGL has basically said, "Oh, where's the statement? Where's the statement? I'll bring it up." Uh, General discussion. Statement regarding Blamey Pardo. Now, this is the words exact from Catalyst on their forums. Catalyst Game Labs recently suspended publishing new works by longtime Battletech author Blaine Lee Pardoe, primarily due to Ms. Pardoe's online activities which do not align with Catalyst's publishing vision. This has nothing to do with Mr. Pardoe's quality of work or ongoing sales, or as reported elsewhere, his personal feuds with other fans of Battletech Bram. That's another story we'll go into in a few minutes. Mr. Pardoe has been instrumental in Battletech IP over the years, and we wish him well in his ongoing professional career. This decision was made in consultation with Trops Entertainment, owners of the Battletech intellectual property, but final determination was by Catalyst Game Labs. So, let's just break this down for a little bit. Okay. Online activities which do not align with capitalists' publishing vision. That, yes, does read a lot like, hey, you've been sprouting some bullshit. We've had enough. See ya. Now, I'll point out to the point that I forgot about actually, in regards to the public feuds that he's had, but also he was threatened, and I'm not going to go blasé about that. No one should be threatened. Um, Pardon me. But that was about 2 years ago. Now, according to him, the person was found guilty of stalking or something. Was guilty of something. They were alleged. They were convicted of some crime, or whatever. But they were harassing him under a pseudonym. And it was a case of he was saying, "Oh, but they'll believe them over believing me." And it's like, well, hang on a second. A person may have been convicted of a crime, and this goes back to actually my earlier point about being evil people having, good ideas. A bad person can still tell the right thing or do the right thing, even though they may necessarily still be a bad person. Now, harassing someone and like trying to be difficult and make other person's life difficult is not cool. But calling out bullshit for bullshit is the right thing. How they may have gone about it, that's another thing. But I would hardly doubt that this was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. It doesn't feel like it. What it feels like is that, rightly or wrongly, Pardo has had probably a few too many things going on, which individually by themselves probably wouldn't give two shits to Tops or Fanatics, the owner of Tops. But when you combine them, it starts becoming a problem. And until CGL come out and say, hey, look, and tell us why, we won't really know their side of the story. Where is it? Let's have a look. Where is it? I'm trying to find it. It's actually Lauren Coleman, I think. There it is. Where is it? There's a thing from Blindly, Lauren L. Coleman, um, about the the saga. Um, I can't seem to find it at the moment, which is annoying. Um, Basically, he was saying that there's more to the story. CGL will put something out later on, but they have yet to do so. Until we know the side of the story from CGL, we can't accurately put the whole thing together. And just like with anything, it needs the parts of the story to be combined to get the full truth. Both sides will tell it from their point of view. This is not a problem. I have a issue with how Blanley Pardoe has made himself the victim to try and drum up sales for his conservative books. I'm not a fan of his conservative views. They're a little bit more extreme than I can appreciate. Does it mean he is not able to voice them? He's able to. That's his call. Um, do I think he's inherently a bad human being? No. Um, and I think that's something we need to remember. Just because someone posts something that may not necessarily agree with you doesn't make them wrong. And some of the thing points Pardo has made in his blog post on his own particular website have some validness to them, but they're still very conservative to the point of extremism. Um, I would like to say, in summation, this shitstorm is still brewing. This is the grumble in your gut, knowing that you need to drop a fucking dirty bomb. And this is going to get worse and it's going to stink like high hell. I think, given everything so far, and given Blanley Pardo's noise about being removed from writing for Battletech, tells me that obviously he wasn't happy because he loves the universe. And, that's cool. I understand that. At the same time, this hasn't been like a small thing that's basically blown up. It's not. This has been a long time coming, and this has been a pretty open problem for Pardo. It's just come to the point now where I think he's just posted too much heavily to the point of extreme conservative stuff, but also had other things I think going on that CGL may know about that we don't, and he's not willing to say. But at the same time, it's probably also him just drumming up, the conservative views so he can get the conservative people reading his books and buying his books. It's sales 101. Eh. Is Pardo leaving the franchise going to hurt me? No. Yes, it's upset a lot of people. Personally, I think so far CJL's handling of it is actually pretty good. They haven't been resorted to mudslinging, dirty tactics. They've kept it simple. Yes, a little bit ambiguous. And I'm hoping CGL will come out with a more detailed response and a clearer path to understanding why they've taken the action they have. Now, granted, we may not be uh, at liberty to know the whole ins and outs due to various reasonings, and we need to accept that. We need to accept that. But saying this was cancel culture, I don't think so. I think, given the search he was writing on, they tend to be very, very extremely conservative. Um, and that's not a good look. And as I said, you can have conservative views. That's fine. You can share them. But some views are a little bit too on the nose. And it's the same with left-hand side of things as well. There are some left-hand views which, you know what, are a little bit on the nose and just like, no, that doesn't need to be shared. We are now living in a progressive society, except if you're in America, where your rights have been taken away from you, thanks to Roe v. Wade being removed. Um, and as a progressive society, we need to tolerate and respect all views. Well, most views on racism that aren't against racism are bad. Uh, you know, being a bigot in any way, shape, or form is not acceptable. What I'm trying to say here is that we as a Battletech community need to be better. We need to be able to listen, respect other people's opinions, but also be factual. Don't let our emotions control and override the facts. That's why we're currently such an environment, politically and outside the Battletech sphere of influence. Battletech, most players are generally a conservative group. That's fine. As we're seeing a new influx of players thanks to the Kickstarter and the new boxes and so forth, Battletech's getting out there, and I love it. It means more people to play, new ideas, different tactics, different things. Pardon me. But we need to stop the shit. We need to start listening. We need to respect people's opinions. Just because I'm on the left and you may be on the right does not mean my ideas and views and opinions should be forced upon you, and vice versa. I've loved Battletech for the last 30 odd years. I've gotten to know it. Um, I've gotten to appreciate the story, its rich tapestry of interwoven bits and pieces. But of late, the player base, the fans, have sort of lived a sour taste in my mouth. And it's a shame. We can be better. I want us to be better. Now, I'm going to leave it here. Um, I'm going to start doing some more videos because I think, like, while there's some interesting topics and people out there doing videos, I think there is some room for other people to put in their 2 cents. Um, I hope that people watch the whole video. Um, and I'm going to leave it here and say this. The jury is still out. We don't know the whole story behind Pardoe v. Catalyst. That's the fact. Pardoe going on about, playing the victim, that's not cool. Pardoe could have just said, hey, we've gone our separate ways. End of story. But he didn't. He pushed his ideology and his beliefs onto people, saying, hey, they cancel me because I'm right wing. It's not just because of that. Even left wingers would probably argue that's not a way to do business. So let's see what CGL comes out with. There is a lot more to this story. And when CGL have come out with it and given us a better update, we'll talk some more. Until then, I'm Heath, and thank you for watching.